right. Good evening, Mustang families, and welcome to Meet the George Mason administrative team. We appreciate everyone being here with us this evening. I know we are a little delayed, and that's kind of a part of the world we're living in right now. We are working out the technology kinks, but thank you again for being with us this evening. My name is Matt Hills. I'm the principal here at George Mason High School. And hopefully right now you can all see the beautiful image on the back of your screen, which is of the new state-of-the-art facility that is still opening on time on December 23rd. And we are keeping our fingers crossed that we are going to be able to have all of our students in that new building. And that's kind of a perfect way to start our presentation tonight. We recognize all the different experiences that families, students, our faculty members, and really the entire world have been going through over the last 5-6 months. This is an unprecedented time, and we're doing everything within our power at George Mason High School to make sure that your child's experience is one that they will never forget. We understand that it's not going to be perfect, that there are certain limitations, but at the end of the day, we really want to make sure that every single one of your children has the experience that they sought over the last 10, 15, 20 years. And that's an important piece. And we're going to touch on that tonight and talk about what that means and what it looks like. We had an opportunity throughout the entire summer as we were planning for what the logistics and the structure would look like for this year to meet with several of your children. And we worked with our student leadership groups to make sure that we focus on what was important to our kids. And it's not just about the world of academia. Yes, we have very important, rigorous classes that are at this school, but more importantly, we always want to make sure that our students have an opportunity to connect outside the classroom. I'm going to talk a lot about that tonight, what our team has done to develop those different opportunities. I'm sure already your children have been talking to you about what that looks like. And the feedback we've been getting so far is pretty positive. So the way tonight's going to work is I'm going to introduce you to my team. My team who's been working the entire summer to really make sure that what we hoped was going to happen ultimately did happen. And after that, I'm going to give an opportunity to Ms. Sarah Snyder, our Director of Counseling, to introduce the Student Services team. And really, that's another important piece when we think about the social emotional learning of our students, especially during this time. After that, I'm then going to allow Mr. Marvin Wooten, our new Athletic Director, to talk about the clubs and activities and why we believe it's such an important part to who we are as Mustangs. And then I'm going to end with just a reminder, making sure that we do our very best to streamline all of the communication. And I know there's a lot. I understand that families are ultimately being saturated with so much information. We want to make sure that we're streamlining communication so you're able to know what is going on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and jump right in. As I mentioned, my name is Matt Hills. I've been at George Mason now. This is my 8th year. This year, obviously a little unusual than some of the others, but we're here, we're working hard, we're excited about this year, we're 2 weeks in, and we feel like we've really gotten a great start to the year. So now I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mr. David Sorensis, who is our assistant principal, and he's going to talk a little bit about his responsibilities.
Hey, everybody. Like Matt said, Mr. Dave Sorensis, this is my 4th year at George Mason High School. My 21st in education, can't believe that. But I'm going to be working with students A through L. I also supervise ESOL, English, and Science departments. And please feel free to reach out anytime. Email, my cell phone is listed. I'm always happy to talk to anybody, especially now. Any kind of human contact is very welcome. Great to kind of see everybody tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensis. All right, next up, we have Assistant Principal, Mr. Peter Laub.
Hello, hello, Falls Church families. My name is Peter Laub. I am the other assistant principal here. I am new to this role at George Mason High School, but I have been at George Mason for 9 years as an English teacher, and this is my first year as an administrator. I'm very excited, albeit anxious in its current state of being, to start this new role. So my responsibilities are, like Mr. Sorensis, I supervise departments at George Mason, the math, the individuals and societies departments. I work with student support for students whose last names begin with L through Z, and help coordinate the IB diploma and MYP programs as well. you'll hear from our coordinators later. Very excited for the school year. Despite the situation, I think we are doing, I'm excited so far for what we've seen the first couple weeks and can't wait to see where this year is going to take us going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Laub. All right, next up we have Miss Sia Knight, our Special Education Administrator.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sia Knight. Just as Mr. Hill said, I'm the Special Education Administrator. This is my 3rd year here at George Mason High School and my 25th year in education. So I know it's hard to believe. Keep your oohs and ahs to a dull roar. What I do at George Mason is I attend a lot of meetings, which I actually like. And if you have students who have IEPs, you may see me in a role as the administrator during those IEP meetings. So good to see you all. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so very much, Sia. All right, next up we have, and I mentioned her a little while ago, our Director of Counseling, Miss Sarah Snyder.
Hi, my name is Sarah Snyder. I am the new Director of Counseling, and this is my first year with George Mason High School. It's my 9th year in education. I'm coming from Arlington, and I'm really excited to be working with your students. As this role requires, I work with our Student Services Department, and I'll be explaining who that entails later. But basically, we work with your students for academic support, providing college and career assistance, as well as social and emotional support. And so we work on helping to develop that social emotional learning curriculum. And also, I work with students who have Section 504 documentation, with so help them with accommodations. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. All right, next up, and I mentioned him a little bit earlier, our new athletic director, Mr. Marvin Wooten.
Good evening. My name is Marvin Wooten, and I'm the new athletic director here at George Mason High School. This first year at George Mason, year 14 in education. Along with athletics, I do oversee all student activities, which include your student clubs and other competitive activities such as speech and robotics. Along with those responsibilities, I oversee the World Language Department as well as the Physical Education Department. I'm looking forward to working with your students as well as the families, and I'll speak a little bit more about our extracurricular program later on in the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Mr. Steve Knight, our Director of Educational Technology, and he's actually kind of running this show behind the scenes. I made a joke a couple days ago about the fact that Steve, right now, based on everything that's going on in the virtual world, I kind of need one of those little child leashes on him at all times to make sure we know exactly what's going on. He's been tremendous in terms of making sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. He is the instructional technology coordinator of Schoology as well, and that's something that we've been using with Fidelity over the last 6 months now, and I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm Steve Knight. Please reach out to me about any technology issues you might have. One thing that I want to highlight is today, Matt and I are trying the AVER camera, which is an investment that the school district made. And so we're trying to showcase some of the functionality of the camera today. I promise you that the teachers that are using the cameras don't need 3 or 4 computers like I do tonight, but they can make it work really easily. But again, if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. All right. Next up, we have our IBDP coordinator, Mr. Dan Coast.
Hi, I hope everybody can hear me. I just unmuted. I've been in education for, this is my 39th year starting. I've been at Mason for 5, been with IB Education since 1997, first as a teacher, then as a coordinator. I coordinate the diploma program here, a program that's been in existence at Mason since 1981. It is the longest standing diploma program in the state of Virginia. We're doing a great job here in getting kids ready for college and the workplace and military by teaching them the skills and work ethic and analytical skills they need to be successful as lifelong learners. Currently in the junior class, we have 80 students going for the IB diploma. Yeah, it's tremendous. Might be the most ever. We have 59 of our seniors currently doing it. That aside, you don't have to do the full IB, of course, to take advantage of the IB classes. Many of your students probably are already in them. I will tell you, if you're a freshman or sophomore parent, you need to reach out to me anytime, any place, any day. We're all virtual now through email, and I'll get back to you. We'll set up a conference and we'll talk about an IB diploma plan or maybe a diploma plan for your child. It's not for everybody, but evidently for our junior class, it seems to be for many. It's a great program to get ready for college, and I can't say enough about that. You'll hear me more about that in presentations I give during the school year. Hopefully not all virtual this school year. Also, our website has a wealth of information. In closing, I will say, we do have some updates about the exams, right? So we do have IB and AP exams. If you have a child who's taking one, and we actually have freshmen who take AP exams, the exams are scheduled right now for May. College Board and IB has not backed off that. College Board has not made amendments to it yet, to what needs to be covered. They did last year, they have not yet. IB has made some amendments. If your child is currently in an IB diploma class, the teacher is sharing those amendments with your child so they know what to expect and be prepared for, lest we get to test in May. Please reach out to me if you have questions about the IB program. That's why I'm here. I'm here to serve the community and all things IB diploma. So thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Coast. All right, next up we have Dr. Rory Dippold, our IB MYP coordinator.
Good evening. My name is Rory Dippold. While I'm new to Mason, this is my 15th year at FCCPS. I have been a teacher at Henderson and then assistant principal, so I've had the pleasure of working with many of your young adults, and I look forward to continue to work with students in 9th and 10th grade, specifically on MYP. And MYP, again, is focused on inquiry-based instruction, making real-world and global connections. And I'm excited to also talk a little bit about the personal project, which we are doing this year. We are going to be adapting and modifying it based on the virtual environment, but more to come on that. But essentially, the personal project is for all 10th graders to choose a passion, something they're really passionate about, and apply all the skills they've been learning in grades 6th through 10th grade, and then share it with their classmates, share it with the school and the greater community. So definitely more, I'll be providing more updates on MYP soon, but look forward to working with all of you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dippold. All right, so next up we have our college and career specialist, Ms. Sherry Murrell. She's new to us this year, and I know, just wanted to share a brief story. She hit the ground running in June, recognizing that many of our students have significant fears about what this global pandemic means for their post-secondary options. And I think, you know, as we've sat down and we've met with every single grade level over the past 2 weeks, we've talked about the fact that, look, the entire world is experiencing exactly what you're experiencing right now. Sherry's done an excellent job of connecting with the kids, holding meetings, letting them know that the process that they're going to be going through and using, everyone is going to be doing the same thing. We are thrilled to have her. Sherry, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so very much for that kind introduction. While I'm new to Mason this year, I am not new to education. And as I tally things up, this is actually year 24 for me. Not all in high schools. My career is eclectic, having spanned working with preschoolers all the way up to graduate school students. So I've dappled in all age levels, and I'm delighted to be working with your students this year to talk about what I love, their passion, their excitement, their enthusiasm for making choices themselves, for oftentimes the first time in their careers or educational path to choose what do they want to do next and what kind of environment is going to support them to become exciting individuals. And how I'm supporting students, it varies. We have students who are looking for colleges. Absolutely, this is a changing landscape this year. So I help support students looking for colleges, filling out their college applications, holding meetings, lunch conversations, bringing in college admission officers to talk to our students, and along with supporting them in their scholarship application process. We also have students who are looking to apply for jobs, and so we'll be supporting students with resume writing and interview skills, and the things that they need to do to be ready for the workforce right after high school. I support students by working with representatives from the branches of the military, and we'll be having opportunities for students to learn more about the service academies as well as direct entry to ROTC programs and such. New on the horizon in my 24 years is a surge of interest in gap years. And so you will see that I, in my newsletter, have been sharing information about gap year opportunities that COVID has brought to the horizon for us. So stay posted as that evolves as well. Starting next week, our college visits virtual this year will begin, and we'll be introducing your students to about 85 different college and universities. Staff members there, primarily the admission officer who will be reading applications for our students, will be sharing some time with us to talk about how their campus has adapted to COVID, and what the impacts may be for the fall 2021 admission class. In the spring, projecting to the spring, one of the things that I'll be working on with your students, with your seniors, is planning for externship opportunities. So there's a lot going on in my realm, and I'm excited to share what I learn and what I have had experience with and the students I've worked with in the past with your students. The key way in which you'll be hearing from me is through the College and Career Center newsletter. That typically goes out on Fridays. I post it for students in Schoology. It's also available on the school website. So please stay posted for updates, as in particular, the college landscape has changed dramatically in the past couple of months. And so I'll keep you posted. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Murrow. We appreciate everything you're doing for our students during this difficult time. And as Ms. Murrow mentioned, we do have our Friday Mustang Spirit newsletter. I know that Sherry's done an excellent job of including her college and career newsletter. Tons of information that's important for our students, even freshmen, sophomores, not just our juniors and seniors. So thank you again. So we often talk a lot to our students about team and how important it is to make sure that we're supporting one another, especially during this time. So you just met my team, you met how we work, you met kind of how we work together and what it means for your students. And we have a lot of folks in this community that support us as well. And I'm just going to share a story, and I see you up there, Mary. Mary Asel, our PTSA president, pretty much has slept in our library over the last 2 weeks. As many of you know, we have just completed our instructional materials pickup. Mary and her team packed about 857 student bags last week. We gave them all out. So thank you, parents, for coming and picking them up. I think we only have about 31 left. So that's incredible. And that's all a testament to your work. Thank you so much, Mary. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Mary Asel.
Thanks, Matt. Hi, I'm Mary Asel. I'm so excited to be here representing the PTSA today. The PTSA is same as it always has been, is a bridge between parents, teachers, and students. But this year, more than ever, we're looking forward to a role of supporting our schools in probably some very different ways. So I will just quickly say that we do have a regular newsletter that will try to publicize opportunities where you can help support the schools. But also, please feel free to reach out to us, masonptsa@gmail.com, if we can support you as parents in any way. And we look forward to getting through this year like no other together. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mary. All right, I am now going to shift over to make sure that everyone can see the screen that I'm next to. I'm going to let Mr. Knight kind of adjust and focus so everyone can follow along. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to take a few moments just to talk a little bit about the structure of the day. We spent a long time this summer, as I mentioned, meeting with student leadership groups, faculty, the administrative team, you name it. And we were really trying to find a healthy balance when we talked to the students over the last 2 weeks, balance came up a lot. It's something that's very important, and it's actually a theme that we believe is critical to our student success this year. When we met with our student leadership groups throughout the summer, they talked a lot about, I don't think that it's an effective way to instruct by sitting behind a screen and learning for 8 straight hours. We heard them loud and clear, and the research suggests the same. And so what we wanted to do was ensure that there was a well-balanced structure to the schedule, giving students an opportunity to connect with one another. I'm going to talk a little bit about what that looks like during our Block 4 advisory period. Mr. Wooten's going to give kind of some extension on that piece in terms of the clubs and activities. But we also wanted to build in time in the day to provide students an opportunity for those extension activities, those enrichment opportunities. There are certain requirements for classes that are outside of those 55-minute blocks, and we're going to talk about why we decided to give those different opportunities throughout the day. As you can see here, we're now going into our 3rd week of instruction. We have our virtual bell schedule includes Mondays and Fridays, where we end at 11:55. This is an important piece. As we mentioned, and as you see what's happening now with technology, this is all very, very new to us. And we want to make sure that our teachers are provided with the level of professional development that they need in order to make sure that the technology works, that they're delivering instruction and it's meaningful instruction, that it's rigorous instruction. And so what we do on our Monday and Friday afternoons are give our teachers time to plan. I had an opportunity to sit down with a teacher this morning, and it was one of those things where sometimes you forget, you're so used to planning in the traditional world and meeting with your team face to face. Well, now it's almost like you have to reinvent the wheel. And we want to make sure that our teachers are given the appropriate amount of time to allow your students to be successful in their courses. And that's what those Mondays and Fridays are for. As you can see, we start off the day with Block 1 or Block 2 on Mondays and Tuesdays. And after that, we go into something called real-time CCE. That's for conference collaboration and extension. In the Mustang spirit over the last couple of weeks, we have sent out information in regards to what that means and what that looks like. We've sat down with the students. We've explained it to them. And so the best way for me to describe it to you today is when you think about some of those courses your children are in, whether it's an IB course that Mr. Coast described, whether it's a freshman level World History 2 course that all of our 226 freshmen are taking. There are requirements for these courses that extend outside of the classroom. So for example, I think of a group project that the 9th graders may be working on. So the teacher is ultimately going to instruct during the 8 to 8:55 block and give students an opportunity to collaborate with their groups. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the CCE time specifically entails in the next slide. We also felt it was really important to include a learning support time. The feedback we received from the community, from our teachers, students in the spring, and yes, it was a little different format, was that feedback is critical to our student success. Dr. Dipple preaches that all the time when it comes to MYP. And when we think about giving students an opportunity to get feedback, whether it's on a written task, whether it's on an assessment that they took, you name it, we want to provide teachers time to meet with the students on an individualized basis. When you think about students having 25, 27 students in the class and 110 students on their caseload, how in the world are they going to be able to connect with those students? And so after meeting with our student leadership teams, listening to the feedback from the survey, we sat down and we said, you know what, we need to make sure that all of our students are receiving this additional level and layer of support. This is also a wonderful time to connect with your counselors, for our students with IEPs to connect with their case managers. It really is a catch-all. And we have already instituted a program called Calendly, which is where teachers set up their individual conference times and students can log in and request times to meet with their teachers. So we're very excited about that. We felt it was important to include an hour lunch break. As I mentioned earlier, sitting behind a screen for 8 hours, it's not strong instructionally speaking, and I don't think that our students are capable of doing that every day, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's just not fair. And so that hour break, we're really kind of promoting it to make sure students are getting out, going for a walk, going for a run, taking a break, getting something to eat, because mental wellness is so important to us, right? That physical piece is important, but it's also about that mental wellness. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. So when we think about our advisory block, you see on the screen block 4, 10 to 10:55. every Tuesday is going to be our advisory block. I'm going to talk about what that looks like specifically in regards to social emotional learning, giving our students an opportunity to connect in smaller groups with their mentor or their stable group facilitator. Our classes are anywhere between 9 to 15. And so we've really also been using this block of time to ensure that our students understand all of these structural pieces. In years past, we may have had to pull time away from our English course or our history course. And we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we preserve this time, preserve the instructional time, and we have a separate block of time for all of these logistical items that we have to go over. So that's an important piece. And then block 4 on Thursdays is going to be dedicated to our club and activities, which Mr. Wooten is going to discuss in a little bit. So if you take a look at the next slide, I mentioned it earlier and I touched on it. Collaboration, conferencing, and extension. Giving students an opportunity to connect with one another, to work in groups, to finish some of those projects, oral assessments, but it's also about the practice piece. It's something that our student leadership groups talked about often. Mr. Hills, we need opportunities to practice to make sure that we are prepared for all of these required assignments. And that was an important piece. This is a teacher-directed time. So a student will check in at 9 o'clock. They'll find out group 1, group 2, you're going to be working on X, Y, and Z. Okay? I may take the other 4 or 5 students to make sure that they understand something that was missed in class. And so it's really used for a wide variety of things, but we wanted to make it structured. And the expectations were clear for students that it wasn't just you get to pick your teacher. It's on Tuesday from 9 to 9:25, you're going to check in with your Block 6 teacher, and they're going to direct what you're going to be doing that particular day. Same for Block 2 from 9:30 to 9:55. The first 2 weeks we really used as a slow rollout, right? We wanted to make connection, build positive relationships. And so we really weren't diving into the content and the curriculum. This week we've been doing that. And so we've really kind of started using this particular time with Fidelity, and we're hopefully going to be able to meet with our students at the end of the month, as well as our teachers, and kind of take a quick view on how things are going and how things are working. As I mentioned earlier, none of this is going to be perfect. We are doing everything within our power to make sure that your child's experience is a strong one, but we are reflective as good IB learners are. And so we're going to be definitely taking the pulse of our community, of our students throughout the year. I mentioned learning support, and I talked about the need to make sure that that feedback is available for our students. It's also a time where students can meet with their teachers individually. And so we really want to use that 11 to 11:55 block for this. We've already seen lots of our teachers' calendars getting booked the entire week, and we're excited about that. So I talked a little bit about Tuesday block 4, and this is going to serve as our advisory period. All right, this is going to be a grade level approach that's also going to include an opportunity for students to disconnect. This may be 1 out of the 4 weeks throughout the month where they can take a deep breath, go for a run, as I mentioned, kind of watch your screen time a little bit. But we also believe it's very important to focus on that social emotional learning piece. And you take a look at the grade level activities that we're going to be focusing on. Grade 9, we have a social emotional learning curriculum that we're going to be using. We're also going to be spending a lot of time with our Mustang ambassadors. I talked a lot about the team approach. We have about 75 Mustang student ambassadors who support our freshman students, our new students, incredible group of children who will do anything to make sure that all of our students are successful. And so this is going to be used for that particular time. I think Dr. Dipple touched on the MYP personal project. We're in our 3rd year now. And so this is going to be the focus for our sophomores. For our junior students, we're going to be focusing on global service learning. Last year, we had an opportunity, all of our juniors, to visit and mentor students over at Thomas Jefferson Elementary in Mount Daniel. We were in the process of hopefully doing that again in the spring. Fingers crossed, we want to be back face to face. But if not, we've developed different ways virtually to make sure that our students are gaining that experience. And then also our grade 11 students in the spring are going to have an opportunity to focus on college and career options with Miss Muriel. Grade 12 is going to be focused on college and career. So we're already going to be giving students an opportunity throughout the next month or two to, in fact, focus on their college applications. Have I not taken my SAT? Oh, you haven't taken your SAT? Perfect opportunity. We're going to be offering it on October 14th. here at George Mason. So there are different things that we're going to be talking about during this particular time. This advisory period is critical to our success here at George Mason High School. Also, the advisory period, we're working with our student leadership teams to focus on equity. We recognize that there's a lot going on in the world today. And so one of the things we've been doing throughout the entire summer is meeting with our students, our SEA executive board, our student admin teams, and talking about how we can develop committees such as our social justice committee, where students can really be activists and they can talk about what we can do as a school to have these difficult conversations. This is an important piece, and it can't just be in the hallways. It can't just be, let's say, on a Zoom call. It needs to be part of the curriculum. And so we have incredible students that are working behind the scenes to make sure that that's addressed throughout the entire year. And we're supporting them, our faculty supporting them, and I just wanted to go ahead and point that out. I am now gonna go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Sarah Snyder, our Director of Counseling, and she's gonna talk a little bit about her Student Services team.
Thanks so much, Matt. So yeah, our student services team is comprised of 3 school counselors. They're no longer known as guidance counselors because they do more than just focus on academic supports. They also help with post-secondary pathways, and as Mr. Hills mentioned, they focus on social emotional learning. So they're going to play a large role in that social emotional curriculum and those transition activities for the 9th grade during that 4th period advisory. We also, as part of our team, have our college and career specialist, Ms. Murrell, who you heard from earlier. She's a fantastic addition, and she can be extremely helpful if you need any guidance in looking for post-secondary options for seniors, but also for underclassmen as well. Then we have our school psychologist, and our school social worker, who also help to support students and their well-being and families if you need additional support. And we have our new registrar, Ms. Kemp, who just took over the role, but she is not new to Mason either. It is her, I believe, 13th year. And so she is working to help, get you records if you need those. And then also our wonderful administrative assistant, Ms. Perez, is there to help as well. So we all function as a team to support your students for whatever they might need. And please feel free to reach out if you feel like your student needs additional help in seeking that balance, or making a connection with a teacher, or really anything that they might need that's beyond what they're able to do individually. Please come and seek us out. And just as an additional note, each of our school counselors, they manage a caseload of around 250 students, and but they do an alpha order, which basically means that they get to keep your student all 4 years. So what's so great about that is they maintain those relationships throughout, and you can see their alpha order for each grade level below their names. So if you have any questions, again, please reach out to us. We're here to help. Thank you, Mr. Hills.
Thank you so much, Ms. Snyder. Appreciate it. I feel like the theme for tonight is team, right? And when you think about a team, it's not just the team at George Mason High School, but it's also Dr. Noonan, our school superintendent. It's Ms. Kristen Michael, our Chief Operating Officer, and Mr. William Bates, our Chief Academic Officer. I believe I see Mr. William Bates out there this evening. Thank you so much for everything that you've been doing to support George Mason. All right, next up, I talked a little bit about Thursdays in Block 4, which is our advisory period. We're using Block 4 this year for club time and activity time. This, again, was something that was very important to our students. And so we heard them loud and clear. We didn't want to force them to meet just before school or after school. We wanted to give them opportunities within the day to make sure that they can ultimately connect. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wooten, and he can talk a little bit about what that's going to look like in our Club and Activities Fair that's happening this Thursday.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hills. As Mr. Hills mentioned, we do have the opportunity to incorporate our club and activities time within the virtual day. As of this afternoon, we actually have 60 plus clubs, student clubs, that we are able to deliver to the community. So we're pretty excited about that. One of our goals going into the virtual year was to make sure that we're able to provide an experience for our kids and really provide a support system to kind of help them navigate through these challenging times. So we really do think that the opportunities that are involved in this program will certainly help supplement that experience. So, as I mentioned, we have over 60 clubs now. On Thursday, which is tomorrow, September 10th, we are going to have a club fair where we're going to introduce each of these 60 clubs to our student body, just so that they know who to get in contact with and how they can start getting involved with these activities. Pretty excited about the things that we're offering. We have things such as the chess club. We have clubs that revolve around politics. We have several science clubs, and quite a few clubs that involve giving back to the community and getting involved in that realm. So we're really excited about that. We do feel like we're offering all these because we want each of our kids to be a part of something outside of the classroom. So Thursday, we're going to introduce all these clubs to our students during that Block 4 time. And then on Tuesday, we'll give them the opportunity to kind of navigate, what that's going to look like via Schoology, how they can go from club to club. Now, many kids are going to be involved in multiple clubs. And so we're going to ask them to kind of balance some of that time. They won't be able to do each club every Thursday. And that's a good problem to have. So we're going to ask them to balance some of that out. But we do feel confident that this is going to be a success. And as Mr. Hills mentioned, this was important to us. We really wanted to incorporate this during the school day. Some of our clubs will continue to meet before and after school. But for them to have an opportunity in the middle of the school day, it was huge. And so we're excited about that. And I also happen to give a really big shout out to our Assistant Director of Student Activities, Hillary Treble. She couldn't be with us tonight, but her and I, we worked so hard on putting this together, and we worked with all of our sponsors, and we're just excited to be able to roll this out for our students tomorrow. Moving on, I do want to give each of you guys a quick athletic update. Along with these 60 clubs and activities that we offer our students, we do have over 20 Virginia High School League sponsored athletic programs, along with a few competitive activities such as robotics and Scholastic Bowl and speech and debate. So we want to kind of give you a brief update on that. Back in July, the Virginia High School League has voted to delay and condense the athletic season. So what that means is they took the traditional fall season, and they moved that to February. So we're actually going to start off the athletic school year in December. So December 14th, our winter season will start. This is very tentative and it's subject to change, but as of right now, these are the dates that we're working on. With the exception of girls and boys basketball, those two programs will start a week earlier on December 7th. And then on February 15th, we are going to start our traditional fall season. So football, cross country, field hockey, we're going to be playing in February, and we're looking forward to that. That's going to be exciting. Golf, volleyball, cheer. So we're going to have some Friday, Thursday night lights in February, and it's going to be a blast. And then our traditional spring season is going to be pushed back slightly. April 12th, where we'll have our traditional spring season: baseball, lacrosse, soccer, softball, tennis, and track. In order for your student to participate in any of our athletic programs, they must have the required paperwork turned in. Those paperwork is each student needs to have an updated physical. Those physicals need to be dated after May 1st, 2020. We also need an acknowledgement student handbook form signed, as well as a concussion awareness form signed. All of these forms can be found on your student's Schoology through the counselor page. And also, if you would like to visit www.masonathletics.org, you'll also have a link to those forms as well. Follow us on Twitter, GMHS Sports. And obviously, if you ever have any questions, concerns, do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. Again, my name is Marvin Wooten, and I'm excited to be here and can't wait to meet you and start working with your kids.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wooten. Appreciate it. I think we were joking earlier about hitting golf balls in the snow, in the middle of February, but I think you said it perfectly, right? It's going to be a blast, and we're making sure to keep our spirits up. We recognize these are uncharted waters. We don't know what the next day, the next week, or the next month is going to bring, but what we're going to do here at George Mason is make sure that we provide the support necessary so that our kids, our families, our teachers can get through this. And that's an important piece to what we believe. So thank you, Mr. Wooten, for all your work. Thank you again to Ms. Trebles as well. And I'm looking forward to our virtual club and activities fair. I didn't realize we were up to, over 60 clubs. That's incredible. I was thinking back to our participation rate. I know in the last couple of years, we've had close to 87% of our students belong to a club, to a VHSL sanctioned sport. And that really does speak to what we believe in. It's not just about, yes, we want absolutely our students to take rigorous courses and to be successful in the classroom, to go to great universities or into the military. But we also want our students to be well balanced, right? That's kind of part of our IB learner profile. And so it's something we preach often, and it's our job to make sure that those opportunities are provided to each and every one of our students, all 800 and I think 57 that I saw earlier today. All right. Well, thank you again to everyone who presented this evening. Thank you to my team, Ms. Aisel. Thank you so much for everything you've been doing to support our efforts here. There was no way this school year could have started as smoothly as it has without you and your team. Lastly, I just wanted to remind everyone, I talked about it earlier, the Mustang Spirit is our main form of communication. So this is our weekly newsletter, the principal's newsletter that comes directly from my office. We have a lot of people that work on it. I already talked about our career in college newsletter, our athletics update, you name it. I understand and recognize that you're saturated with information. I get it. My plea to you is please make sure that you're reviewing the information on Fridays. It's really important because as we think about all the things that we want to communicate, it's not just about communicating it to the parents, but it's also making sure that we communicate it to the students. And so I mentioned earlier our learning management system, Schoology. That's our major mode of communication with all of our students. And so we do share this newsletter with our students and provide them with all the information so they're up to date with everything that's going on. And there are a lot of moving pieces, right? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I think that's why it's so important that these lines of communication are open. As my entire administrative team has mentioned, we are always available. We're here to support you as well as your child. And if you ever have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us. If you take a look at the George Mason High School website, you'll see a list of the entire administrative team, our emails, our phone numbers. Reach out, give us a call. We appreciate you. Thank you for your support. We're not able to do what we do for your children without the constant support that you give us. So thank you for everything. We look forward to a phenomenal year, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you at Back to School Night next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful evening.